Time to bring our zoning appeals board meeting to order. First order of business, you got a chance to look at the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as written.
Second.
Got a second? All those in favor? Okey-doke. Our minutes are approved. Thank you, ma'am. All right, move on to our first order of business is ZV 5118, 111 Hamilton Street, St. Simon's Island. Consider a request for a variance to allow an above-grade deck encroachment into the side and rear setbacks required by the R6 one-family residential zoning district. Zoning ordinance section 701.5. The 8/10 acre property is located at 111 Hamilton Street, St. Simon's Island, parcel number 0404881. Amy Carter, owner and applicant. Could we hear from staff?
Great. Good morning, Board of Appeals members. Stephanie Leaf, Planning Manager. This is ZV 5118 to 111 Hamilton. This is the property. This is the King City neighborhood on St. Simon's Island. This is Hamilton Street, and this is the property right here. It is a substandard lot of record. Sorry about that. It's kind of off the screen. But this is a request for an above-grade deck. So if you are doing an at-grade patio or at-grade deck, that is a feature that can go into setbacks. It does not need to meet setbacks. But as soon as you get above grade at all, that does have to conform to building setbacks, just like your house would. So they are looking to encroach into the side and rear setbacks. The required side and rear setbacks in this R6 zone lot is 7 feet. They are requesting to have a 2.2-foot side yard setback and a 0.5-foot rear setback for the above-grade wood deck. And the reason for their request is to elevate the deck above the root system of a very large live oak tree. So if they were to do this patio at grade, it would disturb that root system and long-term potential damage to the tree. So they are looking to preserve that tree and elevate above that root system to not impact that and compact the system. So you may recall February 2021, this property, the Board of Appeals did grant a variance for this property for the house. So they had another large live oak tree towards the front of the house that they were interested in preserving. And so in order to do that, this house was limited to a 1.5-story house because it is a substandard lot of record. And so they were approved by the Board of Appeals to have a full second story on a portion of the house. So they were able to kind of bump their setback a little bit more to protect that tree. And then because there was a large limb that would go over where the house is, they were going to kind of be flexible in the design of the second floor, which meant they would have a full second story on a portion of it to allow this canopy of the tree. So the Board of Appeals did approve that variance to allow that. And this is the survey of the property on Hamilton Street. So this is the existing house that's been completed. And then this is their backyard deck that they are proposing for the variance, or requesting the variance for. So here's a couple photos. There was a arborist report that I did just send to you this morning. The applicants did submit it into our online portal, but it looks like it was submitted just after I'd pulled some documents out for your packets. So I missed that, so I just sent that to you this morning, but the applicants and their agent are here and prepared to talk about that report. But this is a photo from that report showing the deck under construction, and this is the tree that they're looking to preserve the root system. So we did receive several public comments on this particular project. So they are all in opposition. So this one is from the McCurseys that are opposed to the variance. Another one is from W. Brewer Homes, also opposed. This one is from the Morgans, also opposed. And then this comment is from the Kikers, who are also opposed, and they have some specific concerns that they're outlining here. So these are your possible motions. Staff is recommending approval of this because of the tree, the large live oak tree, which is a specimen tree under the county ordinance, or the St. Simon's Island tree ordinance. And so staff is suggesting if the Board of Appeals does recommend approval or approve it, that there would be a maximum height limit for the raised deck. So the deck is under construction already, but I think the goal with this was that it wasn't going to be, a second-story deck that would look over neighbors, but just having a max height for what that deck is if you're going to allow this encroachment. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and both the owner, Mr. Carter, as well as Chris Young from Shoup Surveying are here for this application. The applicant also has a presentation that they would like to make tonight, so they have some slides, or today, so they have some slides that I can pull up, and then we also have a copy of the arborist report that we can also pull up if you have any questions about that. Thank you.
Well, I got one. When we made the original variance, that was just for the height? I don't know exactly.
Yeah, that was for the height, as well as allowing a full second story, because it was limited to a 1.5-story building, and so you all allowed a second story on the house and the height.
Limited the height it could be, and we allowed it to go up to 35 or something.
I believe, so. Yeah, I don't think they are going up quite to 35, and they can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but yeah, it allowed additional height, because I think the height was limited to, I want to say it was probably 23 or 25 feet for their height.
I think.
Okay, 28. Yeah. So they allowed. So you allowed that to go higher as well as do a full second story and not be limited to a 1.5 stories.
All right. Any more questions for today?
No, good.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I want to hear from the applicant's representative or the applicant or.
Chairman, Board, thank you all for your time today. Stephanie, great job. I'm not sure I can add much more to that, but I will try. My name is Jeff Carter. I live at 3279 Lee Street, and I'm applying to ask y'all to help us to save a beautiful giant live oak in our backyard. We came to St. Simon's for the first time in the fall of last year. We love the charm and the beauty of the island and came across this house for sale, and you can see there's a tree in the front yard, and it's pretty spectacular, but then there was also one in the rear that was even cooler, so it kind of drew my attention. I'm a graduate of Clemson University with a degree in horticulture, so I just love trees and the charm of this house. And so on page 2, I can scroll down, flip over. Or do I scroll down? Oh, okay. All right. So this is the backyard on how it existed when we purchased it in February. You can see this tree, it's 54 inches in diameter. And if you kind of do the math that scientists tell you, that this tree's 150 to 170 years old. Could have been a sapling during the Civil War. But on the steps that were built, they enter straight down onto the ground. And having a experience with trees, that the biggest killer of a tree is root compaction. And as people walk on the roots, it compacts the soil and changes a lot of things with the tree, with the amount of oxygen the roots can get. It just has a devastating impact. So trying to save this tree and do what we can, I went out and we built this elevated platform, and this platform about 20 inches off the ground at the top, and so it'll allow us to walk on and use the backyard. We can currently go out there now and put down concrete pavers and still use the property, but in doing so would have a detrimental impact on this tree. Here is the elevated platform that was constructed. We were very careful when we were building it. I put down plywood for the guys to walk on. We only have 4 pilings that are in the ground. And then once construction was done, we removed the plywood, and so there was no, we really tried to minimize what we were doing to the tree. All this sounds good, but I just don't want y'all to take my word for it. So I reached out to Roger Dittmer, who is a arborist, a local arborist, and has worked with live oaks for decades. And he came out to look at this tree and give his thoughts on it. And this is kind of his site review and history. Some of it me and Stephanie have already touched on, that it's a 54-inch live oak, and there is currently built a raised wooden platform at 20 inches, and it goes on to more explaining what I just said. And then this is just the report continued that it kind of talks about the pros and cons of a raised deck versus a concrete paver, that the decking avoids the damage of the roots and really preserves their integrity. Decking above grades changes by covering uneven dips in areas where concrete or pavers must be. So if you did concrete, you'd have to dig down into the root system to lay the pavers. And I think that's where he was kind of going on, is this is far better to elevate it up, keep the foot traffic on it. It still lets the water and allows us to fertilize the tree while, versus a paver that is not porous. And you can see here that we did not touch the grade. This is just the arrow shows a scrub tree or scrub bush that we cut down, and it's right there at grade. If you looked at that, you could see where there's a little root flare. So that's the natural original grade of the property. So these roots on this construction were virtually not impacted at all. And these are the final notes. My eyes are not that good, so I don't know if y'all have had a chance to review this packet. It is Roger Ditmore's belief that there is no question in the arborist trade that raised decking is by far the preferred method of tree protection and their rooting when a surface must be put in above the root system, especially involving the structural root plate. With the significant reduction of the root system already having been compromised by the new construction footprint, no further unnecessary stress should be made by digging and putting in concrete pad or pavers. The plan is, so we did get stopped, and I was educated that I do need a permit, but this was the first stop. So this is what is currently there today. The plan is to go in and add in a 6 or 8 foot privacy fence that would go along the back of the property and down the side. This would keep anybody from exiting our property and going on to the neighbor's yard. It would help with privacy both from our side and the neighbor's side, and would kind of tie it all together. So we would, assuming approval of this variance, we would finish decking it. We would add the patio off the back, the little step down with the stairs. We would put up a privacy fence, and that would ensure that everybody is contained to our property. So with that, I would ask for your approval of this variance so that we can save a majestic live oak on St. Simon's Island. Do y'all have any questions?
Yeah, a lot.
Okay.
It's obvious that it was started without a permit and kind of got caught, and now we're trying to backtrack into it. I get trying to save the tree. We granted the first variance to help protect the 2 trees, but that was not as much of a visual impact, and it didn't impact the neighbors as much as something like this would. The other thing when I rode by and noticed is that there's also an air conditioner pad that is in the setback on the north side of the building, which is out of compliance because that requires a variance as well. So there's multiple things here that have been done. Basically, in my opinion, it feels like it was done. Let's ask for forgiveness later kind of thing. I'm not in here to grant 2 variances on one property, especially a substandard lot. Um, Protecting the tree, I get the raised bed or whatever. There are other options. There are non-permeable surfaces that can go down and still protect the tree. Neptune Park in the village has pavers around 3 of those, 150-plus-year-old oak trees, and they've been doing fine. And it's survived multiple hurricanes. Me personally, with the steps that are already on the south side of the building that are encroaching, the pad that's on the north side of the building that's encroaching, and honestly, I would never grant a full encroachment all the way to the property line for something like this. So as it stands right now, it's going to be a no for me. I don't know how my colleagues feel or what other questions they have, but that's kind of where I stand on it right now.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's all I got.
Okay, I'm a bit concerned about the .5 setback on the back. I mean, it seems like to me that if that's the deck, the footer is probably right on the property line, if not over it.
Yeah, yes,
And
sir.
if you
So
don't-
the plan is if we put the fence on it, we would,
If it's on the deck or outside the deck?
it would, the 4x4 post would go inside the deck. And so when we put the pickets would actually go flush up against that band that you have right there. And then if there's any kind of encroachments, a lot of that's just kind of spillover. So we can just take our saw and kind of nip that off to keep it in our property. And so you basically have where the band is, that would just have another half-inch picket on there. I mean, the plan would be to put up a fence. It needs, with this lot, we need a fence anyway.
Picket, that indicates a railing, but I assume when you say you're going to talk about a wall or a fence, you're talking about solid things, privacy.
Correct. Those dog ear pickets or a 1x6. Some's like an 8-foot tall dog. It's just a regular fence picket. We'd butt them up for privacy and kind of give that look. And when we did this, in my mind, it was to keep it low, right? I wasn't looking to bring it up flush and be able to see over into anybody's yard. It was, how do I protect this tree? Because to go in there and to add any pavers on a tree like this, it's doom. I mean, it just.
Well, my concern is that 6 inches is just so close to the property line.
And that's, if we build a fence even without this, the fence would probably go in that same spot. That's typically what people do, is they find the property line and come back 1 or 2 inches and put up the fence. So having this already spec'd out with the surveyor, we know exactly where it's at. So we're 6 inches inside our property line. So we put the pickets up for the fence, and then that's only a half an inch. So we're still well inside our property to have it. So even if this wasn't done and we put up a fence, the fence would still be in the same spot.
So the fence will go on top of the deck?
It would extend down, and then there would be some sort of it would probably go all the way down to the.
The supports of the fence would be on top of the deck, and then the fence boards would go down past the deck. Is that what you're saying?
I envision it as coming inside the deck and putting the holes, and then, if we can bolt them to the band, we would. From the inside, yes, sir. And then that's a 2-inch band, so we would then put a 2x4 on the back of the 4x4, because we have there's 2 pieces of 2x12. So we would make that up so it's flush and it looks good. It'll look good.
And what's that sitting in the deck there?
That's a hot tub.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Did you build this deck, or did you hire a contractor to build it?
I brought in labor from that I work with back home.
So And you had no clue you needed a permit to do this job?
No, sir. In up where I live, you can build a elevated structure as long as it's not over 30 inches.
So you don't live in this house?
No, sir. It's
Is it a VRBO?
it's a second home that we're looking to rent out to help us cover the mortgage on a. You know, our goal is if we could do 10 or 12 weeks a year, we'd be done. It's just an expensive house, and this is just a way for us to kind of help cover the mortgage and still, one day I'd love to live in it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. No more questions, I guess. Got somebody. Are you with him or? Oh, okay. Well, since we're done with him, then I'm gonna ask if anybody here for or against. I guess you'll fall in that category. Okay. All right.
Thank y'all.
I guess we're done. Okay. Is there anybody here for or against this application? If so, please step to the podium and give us your name and your relationship.
Yes, my name's Kathy Kiker. I live at 226 Butler. And as you can see from that, the property line is basically that fence all the way across. And
That's
the
your
de-
fence.
that fence is we have 4 lots, and that neighbor is to the left of us. We're in Butler. So our side yard abuts Mr. Carter's house, as well as the stalls are the owner of the other house. So anyway, the ordinance says that you have to have a 7-foot setback. And when I saw that he was going to just go right up to our property line, I got very concerned. We also had a survey with Shoup Company several months ago, or maybe even 6 or 8 months ago, thinking that we might want to subdivide our lot. We have 4 lots. We could do a 6,000 each lot. But then that comes into play, because would we have a setback? No. We're going to be, if we do that, we only have to do 7.5-foot setback, and we're going to be right up against his deck. So I have no objection to the tree issue, but I think they can build the deck without using 7.5 feet of the setback.
7.5. Okay. Is there anybody else here for or against this application? Okay. Well, what do y'all think? Does anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we deny ZV 5118.
I will second that. I just have a problem with, as a contractor, I know that people are supposed to get permits and do things the right way. Some people don't know. But taking a deck all the way to the property line is a little over the top for me.
Well, would you be willing to make an amendment that maybe he did at least 3 foot or something?
No, I'm not willing to amend. But based on the facts that have been presented, my motion stands as presented.
I mean, it appears that the deck could have been, shortened. Well, no, it doesn't either, so, I think there was other ways that you could have a nice backyard, either pavers or, pervious stones, rocks, gravel. There's other ways to do it, but, I'm just not in favor of this one. Sorry.
Okay, well, I guess we're ready to vote. All those in favor? All those,
Opposed?
first of all those in favor?
You're not in
No.
favor.
All-
I'm in favor of the
in
motion.
Well,
in
the
favor of
motion is to deny, correct? So
Yeah.
being in favor is motion to deny.
Yes.
Okay. Are we in favor or opposed? We're opposed.
We're in
So
favor of
the-
the motion.
The motion is to deny. So if you want to deny the project, you would motion in favor of the denial.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay.
That's
All right.
unanimous.
You have a right to go to the Board of Commissioners with this. And they can turn-
You can appeal our appeal, our decision.
Okay,
Thank you.
sorry. All right, now on to ZV 5120-134 Bartram Trail. Consider a request for a variance to allow a building encroachment into the marsh setback required by zoning ordinance section 618. This .69 acre property is located at 134 Bertram Trail, parcel number 03-20222, and zone forest agricultural FA. J.M. Allen Construction and Company Incorporated, owner and applicant. Can I hear from staff?
Great, thank you. This is ZV 5120, 134 Bartram Trail. This is in the Barrington Oaks subdivision, which is off of Southport Parkway at exit 29. This is the parcel in question. As you can see, this is Bartram Trail. This is a flag lot that does have marsh frontage. And so this particular zoning variance request is to section 618, which is environmental standards, and there's a development setback for marshfront property. So the Coastal Marshlands Protection Act typically has a 25-foot setback. The DNR requires that. This particular property, due to a couple different criteria, the Department of Natural Resources does not require a 25-foot setback on this property. So a lot of times, the DNR is much more restrictive than the county is because of the 25-foot setback. In this case, it does not have that, and so then it basically defaults to our county's development setback, which is 15 feet from the Coastal Marshlands Protection Act boundary. So they had gotten a building permit and had surveyed had staked their corners. The corners were staked that the house would be 15 feet from the CMPA line. The plans that were approved by the county showed that it was a 15-foot setback, so everything was in line there. And according to the surveyor, it was staked correctly, but then when the contractor poured the foundation and footings and foundation, it turned out that it was encroaching into the 15-foot setback. So they poured the foundation 1.2 feet into the required setback. The variance is for 1.4 because at this point they have not added the exterior finishing, and so the 1.4 would allow for the exterior finishes to, of course, be put on, and that does encroach a little bit further. So that's their request. So this is, again, this is the property, and this is the house. This is a little bit hard to see on this screen. In your packet, it was a little more clear. So this is where it was staked. And this line right here, if you can see, is where it was actually poured. So this is where your encroachment is right here. This seems a little bit more. So this line right here is the 15-foot building setback. And so, as you can see, they're at 13.8 according to the survey right here, and this is this corner. And as you can see, most of this property, or not most of it, a good percentage of it is covered in marsh and is subject to that 15-foot development setback. And so another aspect of this is this was platted, I want to say it was like 2006, so we're over 15 years ago. This lot 18, as you can see here, it does not show that amount of marsh marsh on the property. So according to the plat, the marsh was at these exterior boundaries, and there was a lot more upland on the property. So that's an unusual aspect of this particular lot. So these are your possible motions. Staff is recommending approval of this application. And Mr. Allen, the applicant and owner, is here, as well as Teeple Hill from Shoup Surveying are here for this application. Thank you.
You done?
I am, thanks.
Any questions for? I got one back, that's 17 foot down, that's where, we got three different houses there, right? We got the state building box, which is where the house is, well, it can't be because it's beyond the setback in front. So we got the house design location, that's the blue. And then the actual built one is the black, the hatched one.
Right.
And the 17 foot, that goes to the building box. The state building box doesn't work anyway, right?
That is correct, yes. That's, yeah, that goes to, it looks like the designed location. Oh, but
Well, I
no, it is,
guess-
yeah, it is in red, so I think
Maybe
that, it's
with
hard
the
to tell, but yeah, the staked building
maybe with
box.
the
And the
steps in the
surveyor
house.
can help interpret that a little more, too.
Well, I think. Yeah. But then it been out here, but it maybe these steps in here wouldn't be. Okay. Okay, any more questions for Stephanie? No.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Could I hear from, Mr. Allen, I presume?
My name's Teeple Hill with Shoup Survey, and Mr. Allen is over there. Just kind of go through some of the history a little bit more than Stephanie did. You know, obviously this plat was platted, you know, in '06, a much larger lot with no marsh impacts. So we went out and using that original platted lot, they did a house design. We went out, staked that lot, and told Mike, you know, we got some issues with this. We need to get a CMPA line done. So we went and had the CMPA line done and approved by the DNR. We applied for the CMPA exemption, which removes the 25-foot buffer because it impacts more than 18% of the lot. It's a whole different house footprint and everything that fits on that lot with no setback encroachments at all. We staked the house out, and you made a comment about the building box being in the setbacks. We square off the building, so the box may actually be in the setback, but the designed house is not. And when we stake out a house, you know, if you're not familiar with surveying, you know, when we get started on 2 known points, we'll check into another point, and every point we stake, we record that information. We bring it back to the office, post-process it to make sure it was staked properly. We actually staked this house 3 separate times, and I've got reports that show that it was staked properly each time. What brought this up was we were going out to the site to do an under construction elevation certificate for inspections. And our crew chief called me and said something doesn't really look right with this house the way it was built. So I said, go ahead and give me the location and bring it back to the office so we'll take a look at it. And sure enough, we brought it in there and the whole house is rotated down. And we're not sure where that came from. It doesn't line up with any points that we've staked on this property. Just have no idea. So it was not caught by the county. It's not something where they told Mr. Allen he needed to file for a variance. You know, we had a conversation and said, you know, this could get ugly if you keep going. I mean, you really need to seek a variance now, you know, because if we keep going, you got a full house built, it's a problem. So this isn't anything that the county found out. It's something that Mike Allen is self-reporting that the concrete foundation guys rotated the house incorrectly. You know, where this house sits in the subdivision, you know, it's not going to be a recognizable encroachment. It's going to affect anyone in the neighborhood. But it is an encroachment of about, you know, when it's all said and done, about 1.4 feet for about 22 feet in that building setback. So, you know, I don't know if Mike wants to add anything to that, but again, this is him, you know, coming forward, you know, ahead of the game, not trying to pull one over the county's eyes, but being a responsible builder.
Thank you.
Okay. You got any questions for?
No, I'd like to thank the contractor for doing what was right and coming forward. That goes a long way with me, so.
Okay. Do you want to get your podium and give us your name and all that stuff for the record.
I'm Mike Allen with J.M. Allen Construction. I've been in business for over 20 years, and I do try to do the right things. And, you know, I'm in a situation here on this particular job where the concrete guy, you know, is denying that he's done anything wrong. And I got proof that I could take him to court, you know, but then, you know, it's going to drag out forever. So I want to thank y'all for letting me come and ask for some help. But I do try to do things the right way, and it'd be very costly to take this foundation up and start over. I mean, you know, somewhere around probably $50,000. And but I'd just like to ask y'all to grant me a variance to where I don't have to tear it down because of the cost that would be involved in it. And, you know, you learn your lesson as Mr. Cliff and Mr. Eddie realized being builders. I mean, you know, we're dealing with some very abnormal times right now with subcontractors and getting people to do what they're supposed to do.
Right about that.
And, you know, I constantly try to better my company by trying to get very good people to work for me, and it's getting to be hard to do nowadays. But this guy is just determined that he hasn't done nothing wrong, and I presented him the facts that, you know, he says, well, I've laid all your houses out in there and ain't made a mistake on none of those. I don't believe my guy made a mistake on these and this one. And I said, well, you know, I got evidence to prove that you did. So this thing's been sitting there for a while and actually eating up interest, and I need to try to come to a resolution and where I can hopefully maybe move on, you know, and get started, get the slab poured and stuff. But I do try to do things the right way, and that, to me, that's the way I was taught and raised, and you know, so hopefully with what Mr. Shoup said, you know, I mean, it's a contractor error, subcontractor error, and I'm just thankful that we caught it before it got further along, you know, because the county does require, and the county could bounce that I am a very respectable builder, and I do try to do things the right way. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Any questions?
When you put the corners in for you, the building box, is that what they staked that building box in then the sub, the concrete guy put the batter boards in, just kind of ignored it or something? Or, I mean, he got out of the building box.
We really can't figure out where he's, obviously, he shifted the house to
Yeah,
make it
rotated.
square with the marsh instead of staying with he claimed that the stalls wasn't there. Well, Mr. Shoup can tell you, I called him out there 3 or 4 times during construction of this house to make sure, yeah, even at when the foundation goes in, that's the first thing, he goes out there, first thing he does is marks, checks the lot to make sure it's marked correctly. Then he puts the builder box stalls in. We clear the lot, and he comes back because naturally the clearing guy's gonna knock your stalls down. He puts the stalls back in, but you know, the concrete guy says that Mr. Shoup made the mistake. He didn't mark it right, and you know, we got documentation to prove that he had it marked right. That's how it all come about.
And not that it matters, is this a spec house or your house?
It's a spec house.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bad lot to start with. I mean, you know, but I mean,
Yeah.
at the time when I bought numerous lots in there,
Yeah.
you know, it was growed up and you couldn't really tell much about it other than looking at the plat. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a hard time getting rid of the home anyway because of the way it sits behind lot 17 there. But it'd just be very costly to tear that foundation out and footers out and start over.
I understand.
But thank y'all. Any other questions?
No, we're good. And again, to echo what my colleague said, thank you for bringing it up, you know, when, you know, with the last one, somebody tries to pull something over in front of us, that gets under my skin, but
Yeah,
appreciate you.
Yes,
trying to
sir.
do the right thing.
Yeah,
Yes,
that
sir.
goes a long way here.
Errors happen. I wish I had $1 for every one I've made on a job site, so.
Well, out of the 20 years, my first year, I had a concrete guy that went on vacation and left his crew there to lay out a house, and they laid it out 8 foot over the property line, and the soldier was in Iraq, and his wife said, my husband said he'd take $30,000 for that 8 foot, we'll sell you the 8 foot. I said, nah, I'll tell you what we're gonna do. When it got discovered, we had the walls up, but no rafters on it. I took the walls down, excavated the foundation up,
Wow.
and started over because, at the time, that was the best thing to do.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I found out it's a lot better to have a surveyor come out and check stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, thank God we just was at the foundation stage, and the county requires us to get an under construction elevation because it being in the flood zone. So whenever I discovered that, I stopped and tried to do the right thing with the subcontractor, but he just, one of them type subcontractors that don't think he did nothing wrong.
Well, thank you.
Thank y'all.
Is anybody here for or against this application?
Christopher Carey, Vice President of Barrington Oaks HOA. I've conferred with the other members of the HOA, and we support this variance.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, well then I'm ready to entertain a motion.
And I'm going to make a motion that we approve ZV 5120, 134 Bartman Trail as presented.
So you have a second. All those in favor? Got your motion. So you got your variance.
Thank you all.
Got it? That's it?
That's it
We
today.
adjourn the next time.